Here's what self-righteousness is. Here's a simple definition that I pulled off the internet. Okay, having or characterized by certainty, especially an unfounded one, that one is totally correct and morally superior. Okay, now you think less of me now, right? Okay, look. Do a little self-reflection here too, okay? This is one of the number one things that I deal with. I do genuinely believe that it's wrong to put the toilet paper on the other way. I genuinely believe that's wrong. There are times that I open up the dishwasher, I've told you this before, and I see the way that it was packed, and I genuinely think that there is a moral problem going on here. And there's a right way to do this, and there are multiple wrong ways to do this, right? Like, I deal with this. And you can imagine as a pastor why a lot of pastors end up struggling with this. Here's the thing. Look, you may think differently after I say this, but in any room that I'm in, I am rarely the person with the most obvious problems. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't have as big of problems as everybody else, but mine just typically aren't as obvious as the person that I'm sitting across from. In most situations, I am not obviously the biggest sinner in the room. And I can't imagine that I'm the only one in here, just because I'm a pastor, that sometimes struggles with this. Now, here's some synonyms for self-righteousness to help us understand even more what we're talking about. Holier than thou, that's what sometimes people will call this. Being smug or being sanctimonious, that's a big word. This is when you think that based on the way that somebody else is behaving or the way that they think or the way that they are, even who they are, that you're somehow better because if you're grading on a curve, you're at least better than they are. There's one day in particular that I tend to feel particularly self-righteous. It comes in the spring every year. There's one particular date that this centers around, but the particular event that I'm going to talk about moves around, and that is the St. Patrick's Day parade down Greenville. I make sure that I drive by that every year. At 10 o'clock this year, I drove by it, and I felt a whole lot better about myself. Because it was 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was stone cold sober, and I felt really good about myself. And then I drove by it again at 8 o'clock that night, just for fun. And as I drove by, I felt really good about myself. Because at 8 o'clock that night, not one part of my body that should be covered up was showing. And I thought, at least I'm doing better than that guy is. Look, here's the thing. Most of us, in some area of our life, deal with this. Now, here's another synonym that may not be true for you, but a lot of people. Here's another synonym for self-righteous, and that's Christian. For a lot of people, being self-righteous and being Christian go hand in hand. For a lot of people, and maybe you're one of these people, for a lot of people, the way that Christians are viewed is that Christians are hypocritical. They say one thing and they do something else. That Christians are closed-minded. They think they've got everything figured out and they don't want to hear from anybody else. They're self-righteous in the sense that they think that they're better than everybody else. But here's what I want to submit to you. And this is going to be the foundation of everything we're talking about the next few weeks, is that when Christians are at our best, when the church is firing on all cylinders, and what I mean by that is when Christians are the closest to Jesus' teachings, when we're firing on all cylinders, we're actually the exact opposite. When we're living the way that Jesus lived, when we're living in light of his teaching, not only are we not hypocritical, but we're people of integrity, meaning that what we say and what we do are perfectly integrated. We're people of integrity. That when we're living after Jesus' example, when we're living the way that he taught us to live, that we're not closed-minded, we're actually open-minded. Meaning that we have our core convictions that are not up for grabs, but we want to dialogue with people. We want to understand where they're coming from and help them to understand where we're coming from. We want to be open to new ideas. We want to maintain our convictions while being open-minded and talking to others. And we're not people who are self-righteous. We're people who are humble and grace-filled, because at the heart of what we believe is that all of us are on an equal playing field. And the only thing that separates a Christian from a non-Christian is that we have accepted the grace of God that he wants to pour into all of our lives. And we're not self-righteous. In fact, we're just the opposite, because we recognize that what makes us who we are is not us, but it's the grace of God. And we want other people to experience that too.